joining us right now. Fox News Channel's Catherine Herridge. She is all over this NSA snooping story. And boy, it's like there's 5 different stories all together here with this NSA story. Catherine, let's start. Obviously, the big news this morning is that yesterday afternoon, the leaker revealed himself to Glenn Greenwald, the man who broke this original story with The Guardian. His name is Edward Snowden. What have we learned about Edward Snowden in the last 18 hours?
Well, according to the interview with the British newspaper The Guardian, he says he's 29 years old, and for 4 years he worked in various jobs in the U.S. intelligence community, beginning with the CIA and then ultimately the NSA. What's, I think, of note is that he only worked for one of the contractors, Booz Allen Hamilton, for 3 months. This was, in effect, his last assignment, and he was based with a team in Hawaii, and it was there, based on the interview, that he copied the final documents and set this plan into motion to release this classified information. He copied the documents, told his supervisor that he needed a medical leave. He suffers from seizures, he says, and then hopped on a plane to Hong Kong. This, of course, has the attention of many people who follow intelligence because of the complications it may present in terms of extraditing him ultimately to the United States to face a criminal trial.
Interesting. I noted in his interview he said that at one point he had access to all of the undercover assets within the spy world, which would seem to be very valuable information while you're sitting in Hong Kong.
Well, that's right. There are a couple of points here that you're getting to, I think, Brian. One is that he describes himself as a systems administrator, which is a fancy way of saying that he was the guy who was running the IT shop in some of these agency locations, and because of that, he was not directly involved in these covert operations or the collection, but he was able to see everything that was going on. And this specific detail, this claim that he knows the location of the CIA offices or the chief of station operations overseas for the CIA and covert assets, this is intelligence that could easily be leveraged by a hostile government to the United States. And the fact that he's in China, and we've just wrapped up these talks between our president and his Chinese counterpart, in which the Chinese continue to insist that they are not the source of cyber theft to the tune of billions of dollars of U.S. Ideas every year is somewhat striking.
Well, and you have to wonder, because we were told a couple of weeks ago, we were told that this was going to be a major item on the president's agenda for these discussions with the Chinese government this weekend, and this breaks the Friday before those discussions are supposed to take place. Is that timing coincidental?
Well, I'd say the timing is interesting at the very least, because all we have is a certain set of data points to look at right now. We don't have anything that ties him specifically to the Chinese, except that he chose to flee to Hong Kong, and for those, we don't know what his personal reasons may have been, except just on its face that he was choosing to get as far out of the reach of the U.S. government as possible.
Yeah.
One of the things that may complicate an extradition is that overnight a lawmaker in Iceland, as well as one of these media freedom groups, has now offered to assist Snowden in his request for asylum in Iceland or perhaps even in another country.
All right, so clearly there are a lot of people look at this guy and say, well, I'm glad somebody came forward and revealed this information. But inside the intelligence world, the people that you talk to on a regular basis, I gather they're everything but maybe just short of apoplectic about this.
Well, there's just I've never seen a level of it's almost like they had the wind knocked out of them, like sort of kicked to the ground, because these leaks are at the highest levels of the intelligence community. And one of the things that's not being said is that now that they know who the leaker was, they can go into his computer files. They can see what he was accessing in his recent history on his computer, what he copied, and what he printed. So what we've seen so far is probably just the beginning of the documents that will be leaked. And he's in some respects like the Bradley Manning of the NSA, though he makes the argument that he was more selective, as if this makes disclosure of classified information any more palatable to people, but he says he was selective and chose not to identify individuals or sites of operation.
Well, and he's being compared to Daniel Ellsberg, also with the Pentagon Papers, and he was a very polarizing figure. What's interesting to me, Catherine Herridge, is the very strange political bedfellows being made over this story. You see, Representative Rogers from the Republican Party in the House teaming up with Dianne Feinstein, senator from obviously from the Senate side. They seem to be on the same side of this issue, but then you see Democrat Ron Wyden teaming up with Republican Rand Paul saying, no, this is a horrible thing what the NSA is doing. It really is interesting to see the way the political lines are being blurred.
Well, one of the reasons I think that you're seeing the head of the House and the Senate Intelligence Committee really on the same page is that they, among lawmakers on the Hill, they are the most briefed or read in on these programs. So I would argue that it's in their interest to make a compelling case that there is sufficient oversight because they were the ones who were charged with the oversight.
Yeah, their necks are a little on the line. Great point. Great point.
Right now, on the contrary, the person whose comments I'm sort of giving a lot of weight to is Jim Sensenbrenner. He was one of the architects of the Patriot Act, and he has written in the Guardian newspaper over the weekend. This is the paper that has carried these leaked documents, that he believes that there has been an abuse of the law in terms of its expansion and the interpretation.
I want to ask very quickly, because we've been reading that, what happened to the AP, what happened to your colleague James Rosen, would have a chilling effect on reporters, especially when you talk about, secret sources and people that, who can't come out and say publicly the things that you need for your reporting. Has it had a chilling effect on your reporting?
I don't want to go into a lot of details, but the answer is yes.
Well, all right. Well, listen, Catherine Herridge, always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.